Okay, yeah, I'd like to show a little bit today about one of these pieces of software I found about the epidemiology of various viruses and that, and this in particular, the one I'm interested in at the moment is COVID. So this is the current state of play in terms of percentages and genetic diversities in Australia as of from the date is actually set to November 2021 to January 2022. So you can see in these percentages, ratios that there's a fair bit of Omicron right now and quite a bit of Delta as well. Obviously, it's changed quite rapidly in the last 2 weeks. I think about 2 weeks ago, I was probably seeing only Delta recorded in this software. Obviously, there's probably delays in that, and when they doing the genetic sampling of this. I'll get rid of some of my filters, so you can put the filters in over here. So I'll get rid of the Australian filter, and we'll wind right back to 2019. And we'll zoom out. Obviously, I've got the Oceania filter on for that point, and I'll hit play on the recording. So as you can see, as the virus is originally mutating, and you've only got some of the original strains here as it's mutating across. And it's just in its early stages. Quite a bit of genetic diversity, obviously, already in that stage. And we haven't even really yet properly generated Delta yet. I think this date is up to November 2020, so this is about a year ago. And at this point here, you start seeing Delta start to mutate in the various strains and various pieces of Delta. Let it go for a little while longer and just see how much diversity is actually within Delta itself. Quite a bit. And I'll zoom in to Australia at this point here. And I'll set the filter to Australia, country Australia. Over in that little point there. So at this point here, relatively low cases in Australia, relatively low, and mostly Delta, but still quite a bit of genetic diversity in this as well. So when you get Delta, it's not exactly one specific virus. It's probably acts in a similar way, but there's you can get all different variants within itself. Keep playing, and obviously at this point here we're getting to around October 2021 to December 2021, and you can see that just within Australia you have all this diversity within Delta, but then you also have Omicron coming in. Keep hitting play and let it run out to the end. Okay, so once it hits the end, it actually resets the thing. So I'll just take to its current state of play. So at this point here, you've got quite high percentages of Omicron and also quite a bit of Delta as well. This here is a spread of how it's occurred over the period. So if I just wind back to 2019, you can see how within Australia how these percentages have played out over time. It's not that they're necessarily watered out themselves or overwritten them. It's probably, possibly because of lockdown or this or that. But it is quite interesting, and also quite interesting how they say, when there's a new strain, suddenly you stop hearing about old ones, or something because of popular news or popular opinion or Facebook or whatever. In a lot of these cases, some of the original strains are around forever. And even the case of Omicron right now, there's still a lot of Delta around, which is sort of a little bit against, some of the things you might be perceiving, like I was perceiving when I came back from holidays, that, the Omicron's, it's a little bit less harsh on you. but you can see from the data that still actually quite a lot of delta around, particularly around Christmas. The data sort of says there's a lot in Victoria. So anyway, have a play with the software. You can do a bunch of cool things like click on the clock down here, which shows number of mutations, which is also very scary when you consider how many times it's changed throughout its life. And yeah, anyway, it's a pretty cool piece of software, and a lot of cool features to it. Tells you a lot about genetics, all the rest of it. Catch ya.